Hello everybody! Today we're going to be doing something special. We're going to be talking about something near and dear to my heart and many other people's hearts, and that is the Half-Life franchise, as well as the conspiracies surrounding Half-Life 3, the game that may or may not ever be made. And a lot of people are talking about this, and there was a huge thing that went on lately. So what we are going to do in this video, and I say we because you guys are here with me, what we're going to be doing in this video, and if you're a gal, gals as well, what we are going to be doing in this video is we are going to be going through the entire existence of Half-Life. Now, the 3 games you see here in front of me are not the only 3 games in the Half-Life franchise. There are 2 other games on PC only that were released with Half-Life 1. There was Blue Shift, which was Barney's point of view. Barney is the security guard in this game. And there was another one, which I cannot remember for the life of me the name of that one. It was where you take the perspective of the soldiers coming in to shut down and kill all of the scientists at Black Mesa to erase it from existence so nothing gets out and nothing's ever found out. So those 2 are really cool. They played alongside Half-Life 1. And there is another game that played alongside Half-Life 1, but that's here. So what we're going to do is we're going to start actually with Half-Life 1. This is a game that you guys will definitely have a hard time. Well, maybe not anymore, but when I was looking for it, I had a bit of a hard time finding it. As a matter of fact, my game is a pre-owned game. As you can see, it has the code from, I believe it was, I don't think it was a rented game, but it was a code from a store. So, we have a pre-owned game of it, but this game was really cool. It also features Half-Life Decay, which is the first and only, by the way, co-op multiplayer game where you and a friend split screen play together. It's 2 scientists that are struggling to survive in Black Mesa, and their story goes parallel to Gordon Freeman. As a matter of fact, where Half-Life Decay ends, Half-Life Decay is 6 short. I would call them episodes or parts. I believe it was 6. Might be more, might be less, whatever. But Half-Life Decay runs parallel to Gordon Freeman's story or Half-Life story. So while Gordon's on one part of Black Mesa, you and whoever you're playing with are on another. And your prerogative or priority is to close the portal between Half-Life and Zen, which is a planet that's opened up thanks to the experiment that went on with Gordon Freeman, and to survive the Black Mesa event. And, sorry, I think I hit the mic there, so I apologize if you heard a boom. So, Half-Life Decay was a lot of fun. Michael and I had a lot of fun playing it. You know, you rely on your teammate really a lot in Decay. But we're not here to talk about Half-Life Decay. As awesome and as fun as it was, unfortunately, it was a one and done thing. They went off, the 2 scientists at the end. I don't remember their names. I haven't played this game in a long time. Maybe I will for Frontline Gaming Zone if we ever get a PS2 Slim to put in here. But they go off. The story here, the main story, is Gordon Freeman. He is a scientist at Black Mesa. There's this gigantic project. The game opens up with one of the best opening. Let me put these down because we're talking about just Half-Life 1 right now. We will get into all of these as well. So this game, okay, I'm just making sure it looks good on the camera. This game opens up with one of the most epic beginnings possible. And I would pop the cam, but I accidentally popped it before the video. But I would pop it right here and say, well, definitely need a Coke for this video. But it opens with the best cinematic opening ever. You go into this trolley, and it takes you from the front of Black Mesa all the way to the science labs. And while you're doing it, you got credits rolling. You see all these different facilities in Black Mesa. You don't really experience too much with the tram system in Half-Life. Half-Life Decay, the multiplayer section, you do experience a little bit more with the trams. A lot of innovative new things went on in this game. It's advertised in the back. You've got unparalleled AI, advanced graphics and animation. In its time, it was. Things looked a lot more, and extraordinary realism was one of the big things. And back then with PlayStation 2, the goal was to make games look as real as possible. And obviously, in the year 2016 now, we have games with graphics that surpass Half-Life 1 a million times over. But in its time, Half-Life 1, or Half-Life, was one of the leading games of its time. And it was a really fun game. Valve made it, like I said, for PC. It made it somehow onto the PlayStation 2, and it made it somehow into my renting cart. And after playing it just once, I knew I had to own this game. So Half-Life, you open up a portal to Zen. There's an experiment that Gordon Freeman's doing, like I said, and interrupted myself. And all hell breaks loose, and now it's up to Gordon Freeman to close the portal that was open between Earth and Zen and to survive Black Mesa, because now that this has happened, the government's come in and wants to hush the whole thing up, meaning there are no survivors. The soldiers come in and they're the bad guys. You've got aliens from Zen now who are trying to kill Gordon Freeman, and you've got the government soldiers looking to kill Gordon Freeman and everybody else that's at the base to hush the entire incident up. So you're assisted by a security guard named Barney who shows up in multiple places. So there's like a million clones of it. It looks like there's a million clones of him, but in reality it's supposed to be that's Barney just following around, or maybe there's like a million. I don't understand. That's the one funny thing is there are 3 scientists that you will continually bump into. Only 2, I believe. No, the third one is the bad guy in the okay. So you got 3 scientists, one of 3 scientists that'll be around Black Mesa, and they change. Every time you play the game, it could be a different scientist, except at the very, very beginning. But while you're playing in the middle of the game, scientists can change, because all of them have technically the same voice, but the same 3 scientists or Barney are everywhere, and you get to see them die in multiple ways, because you got the aliens that are invading. The whole game for me, from point A, from the very beginning of the game, to the point where you go to Zen, is the most fun I've ever had in a game ever. Traveling through Black Mesa, going through all the, labs and secured off regions, sending a rocket out, because you have to do that at one point, and all the crazy stuff, there's a chapter called the game is chaptered off, FYI. There's a chapter where you have to ride this train, and it's called On the Rails. And that entire chapter, you're underground riding a train to get to a different part of Black Mesa. And it's a fun game. But when I got to Zen, I felt like all the fun kind of died a little. Because Zen, I wish there were pictures of it, but not on the back of this game. Zen is obviously an alien world. It was very weird, very different, and you could tell that the game was coming to an end when he went to Zen, because obviously he went to Zen to shut the portal down, which it turned out the portal was within this gigantic alien, which you have to kill. You kill the alien, and all throughout the game you get to see this guy in a suit. Never got a name. His name was G-Man, and in the end, he enlists Gordon Freeman. He takes him, whether for or against his will. In Blue Shift and the other one, I believe the one with Barney, you don't have to worry, you never see G-Man. But the one with the soldier, you kind of have no choice. You have no choice either, really. Give or take, but G-Man is involved with the soldier as well. So he whisks Gordon Freeman away from Black Mesa, never to see the light of day. Well, not never to see the light of day again, but until he's needed again. And that's where Half-Life 1 ended. And to be honest, it was an ending. Yes, it was kind of one of those endings that left you saying there could be more, but it could have been left alone, and it would have been a good sci-fi ending. However, for the Xbox, Half-Life 2 was released. This game I got day of release because I loved Half-Life 1. We're going to put this over here so you guys can see it. I want to make sure that I have room for Half-Life 2, so it'll fit right about here. Okay. Half-Life 2, Gordon Freeman is brought back. Now, the world isn't the way it was. In Half-Life 1, the world was basically like it is now. Half-Life 2, apparently one of the 3 scientists used the technology to become an overlord. And the other 2 scientists were looking to overthrow him, to save the world, basically. Enter Gordon Freeman. The story, however, takes a hit. Because now it's not about survival against the aliens. Because now, actually, the aliens... I want to see, is there a picture of an alien here? No, there isn't. Well, one of the aliens... So here's the back of the... For the games, so you can see the graphics. Obviously, graphics have changed. And Gordon Freeman, through all of these games, is a wordless protagonist. You don't hear a word come out of his mouth, which hopefully, if the rumors are true about if ever there's a 3, I hope they change that. But beside the point, he's back, and now he has to stop this scientist from using this technology. So it's no more about survival, about closing the portal to Zen. It's all about taking this guy, and I forgot what his army was called. Player's presence affects everything. Yeah, no, they don't say much, but he's... I forget, it was the... I haven't played this game in forever either, so it's been a while. This game has been out. This Half-Life 2 came out in the year of 2005, 4 years after Half-Life 1. So you go around this city that is enslaved by this scientist now, overlord, basically. And the things you see and experience, I will say the one thing that this takes from Half-Life 1 that's really cool is it's very easy to get lost because it's an open world without being an open world. Yes, it's a point A to point B. No, you cannot return to a level once you pass it, but the levels are so broad and so open, it's easy to lose your way. And there are some chapters that are really, you just can't wait to finish. And then there are some chapters that you wish would go on and on and on and on. There's a chapter where you're on the road in a car. I enjoyed that part. But then there's a chapter where you're underground in a sort of spider-like base. Not base, a spider alien nest. And I couldn't wait to get out of that. So it had its good and bad points. There's this girl, Alex, that... she kind of has a thing for Gordon, and I remember when this game ended, however, it ended in a way where there's a huge explosion, but G-Man shows up again to take Gordon away. But Alex is stuck in the explosion. I remember when this game was done, and I closed the game, and I put it down, and that was the end. There was nothing else. There was no DLC at this time. Nothing. I wanted to write the biggest fan fiction because I did not like that ending at all. After playing so many hours of Half-Life 2, and yes, it took me literally a couple of days to beat it, and that's just because I needed sleep on certain days for school. At that time, I was in school. I was so upset with the ending to this game. I did not think there was going to be a Half-Life 2 Episode 1 and 2, which we will get into in the orange box. So I sat down and I started, and my friends are like, dude, it's a video game. I was just so angry at the ending we got. It's like Alex didn't deserve to die. I wanted to see her move on. I wanted to see, what was next. It just ended. It ended in a way where I didn't want G-Man to take Gordon again. But my anger would be pacified in 2007. 2 years later. Which wasn't a bad wait. Only 2 years when the orange box came out. Now, the orange box is not just Half-Life 2. It also has Portal 1, which paved the way for Portal 2, which had an ending, by the way. Portal 2 had an ending, and I want you guys to note that. And Left 4 Dead, it's its own story within each game. Each story, each Left 4 Dead had the end. And every Left 4 Dead game, 1 and 2, had different characters with different endings. But they had a definitive end. I want you guys to understand that. There's a reason. And Portal 2 had a definitive the end. So Half-Life 2, remade for the Xbox 360. With the inclusion, as it says right here, of Half-Life Episode 2, and then if you look at the very fine print at the bottom, also includes Half-Life 2 Episode 1. Now, obviously, Half-Life 2 Episode 1 must have been DLC that came out for Half-Life 2 at the time that I never saw. But I don't think so, because the way Episode 1 and 2 went together, I would think that it was exclusive to the 360 game. I could be wrong. It might have come out for the PC even, and not for the console games. But it satisfied me, episode 1 and 2, and I'll tell you guys why in a sec. So, now if I can remember correctly, the newest installment in the best-selling, high-rated action game, battle creatures spawning above and below ground, White Forest, then take a thrilling ride with Alex to a new modified vehicle and enjoy most breathtaking and revealing Half-Life game ever made. I'm trying to remember how it ended, to be exactly perfectly honest, because everything kind of bleeds together. It takes place directly after Half-Life 2. Alex isn't dead, and the alien actually saves Gordon Freeman from G-Man. And G-Man kind of becomes an antagonist a bit. And you've also got the army that's still going after Gordon. So basically, the world continues forward after the boss battle at the end of Half-Life 2. And we get little tidbits on a boat. And the name completely left me, but Portal 2 had a lot of little nods to the boat. That the boat was actually made by Aperture Industries, which is Aperture Science, which is Portal. But that's where the next installment of the game was going. Alex and Gordon were going to take down the group once and for all. And that's where the game ends. But now the game ended well. It ended with Alex saying, we need to take them down. We need to go. Everything fades to black. So Alex survives. One of the scientists do die. I won't spoil whom. Because if I do play these 3 games, I want to make sure that you guys will be a little surprised. But you can go on YouTube right after this video and find out which scientist dies. But somebody does die here. And it ended. And that was it for Half-Life 2. Half-Life 2 officially retired. It's true. Half-Life 2 officially retired after Half-Life 2 Episode 1 and Half-Life 2 Episode 2. That was the end of Half-Life 2. Since 2007, we are now in 2016. That is 8 years. 9 years? Damn, it's been that long? Wow. Thank you, Mike. Mike's behind the camera, by the way. That is 9 years. Nearly a decade since the Orange Box was released. Half-Life 1 and 2 was within 2001. This was 2000 and what again? 5. This was in 3 years. This was within 3 years. Because I believe this was the end of 2001. 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 5. Okay. 4 years. Between 1 and 3. I'm doing so good in the math today. I'm so good in the math. So, 4 years to go from 1 to 2. 2 years to get 2 extra chapters to put a better ending to Chapter 2. We are almost 10 years later. Since the end of Half-Life 2 Episode 2, rumors and fan fiction and, Half-Life 3 became the biggest conspiracy in the gaming industry because people would all the time pop up and say, Half-Life 3, Valve is... Because if Valve would even make a nod, for example, Portal 2, which only came out about 3 years ago, maybe 4. I don't know, I don't have the game in front of me to tell you guys. Portal 2 made a nod to Half-Life 3, and that brought all the fans out of hiding, and a bunch of people starting to say, this is Valve saying Half-Life 3 is coming. Half-Life 3 is going to be made. Little things that would pop up in Valve's games or in Valve on Steam or somewhere, people would run and say, that's a symbol, Half-Life 3 is finally coming. In the past couple of weeks, we will be talking about this on Hit Points, when Brett and I do Hit Points. In the past couple of weeks, a fan reached out to the writer that wrote the Half-Life series because rumors were that Half-Life 3 was being made and was going to be coming out maybe 2017, which would make it 10 years later, it was in development. So he reached out to the writer and asked what the status was on him in Half-Life 3. And he answered with, Very straightforward. I am no longer working at Valve. He had retired. So the man that wrote Gordon Freeman's story from 1 to 2.2 is retired. So Half-Life 3 goes from, possibly really making it, and, finally being made, back to the rumor square, back to the, what is Valve going to do now? Valve has made many games, and there's also a rumor that there's a Left 4 Dead 3 coming. Valve ended Portal 2. They gave us a definitive ending. Left 4 Dead doesn't count as a story-wise game because really it's 4 friends getting together, killing some zombies, and surviving. By the end of the level they survive, that could be the end of their story right there. There's no coherent story, even though there was a gap filled between Left 4 Dead 1 and 2 where the two teams met and one person was sacrificed in the end. There was no story like this was a universe and we went from point A to point B. Those were more multiplayer, survive the zombie hordes kind of game. Team Fortress, same thing. It was more of a multiplayer-esque game. It had no definitive story to it. Half-Life, however, did not have a definitive end. As a matter of fact, the ending to Half-Life 2 Episode 2 led many fans to believe that there was a final chapter. If that was the final chapter. There was at least going to be a third chapter. And as a person who's played Half-Life 1 to completion, beat Half-Life 2 literally within a week, was upset about the ending, went nuts for 2 years until Half-Life 2 Episode 1 and 2 was released on the orange box, grabbed the orange box day it was released as well, skipped Half-Life 2, went right to the next chapter, the next part of the story, and had an ending that looked like... when they released Half-Life 2 Episode 1 and 2 on this game in the orange box, everybody said it was just a set up for Half-Life 3, which would be coming. Unfortunately, again, Half-Life 3 is one of those things that I believe will be a part of gaming, the gaming kind of... Shoot, and I said the word already once. Conspiracy, thank you. It's just going to be a conspiracy until either Valve officially announces they will never be making another Half-Life game, which would be upsetting because they left us at a cliffhanger that deserves to be answered. Even if they just do a Half-Life 2 Chapter 3, something to give us a definitive ending to Half-Life would have been nice. A reboot I would not be for. We went through 3 games already. 2 games really. If you want to count the 2 of these as one, we went through 2 games already. One game that was super long and one game that really created an amazing universe. If you've never played Half-Life, this is a series you should play. If you like first-person shooters, and this is not no multiplayer first-person shooter, my friends. This is a first-person shooter game that has an in-depth story. And as a matter of fact, each of these games, what Valve did was they created a cheat system. And I have the codes, actually. Yes, when I was younger, especially in the PlayStation 2 days, I did cheat. A little. Where you can have invulnerability, invisibility, infinite ammo. People have big heads. It's one of those things. Valve always put those in their games. I believe there's also ones for Left 4 Dead. And I don't think there's any for Portal. But Half-Life, it was in 1, it was in 2, and it just grandfathered into the orange box for Half-Life. So there was a password system for cheats. But this conspiracy has been one of those things that has been going around and everybody talks about it. I've talked about games on my live shows several times, and it's been brought up many times. What is your thoughts on Half-Life 3? Do you think it's true? Because there would be rumors floating around sometimes, and people would be like, do you think this rumor is true? Do you think that rumor is true? Do you think Half-Life 3? Because I always talk about Half-Life 1 and 2. Those are one of my top favorite games of all time. And when I'm asked about Half-Life 3, the only thing I can say is it is the greatest conspiracy. And to this day, people will spread rumors. Things that aren't even true because they want to believe that Half-Life 3 is coming out tomorrow. And unfortunately, when Valve created Steam, they stopped making games. At least the games that they were known for on the consoles and the PC. They don't make them anymore. And I'm completely okay with that. They gave a good ending to Portal. I just don't understand why they can't take the time out to make one more Half-Life. And now the writer for the series, the writer who actually I believe looks a lot like Gordon Freeman, as a matter of fact. The writer looks very much like Gordon Freeman, so I guess he kind of modeled himself as Gordon Freeman. But beside the point, the writer has retired. So now you have a problem of the writer had a next chapter possibly, but now they didn't do it in the time frame where he was working with them. So now you have to find a writer who will be willing, because if you reboot this, it won't work. In my opinion, I think if you reboot Half-Life, unless you're doing Half-Life 1 and you're rebooting or doing what like Resident Evil is doing where they remaster the game, if we were to get a remastered Half-Life 1, I would be the first one in the stores pre-ordering that a year in advance if they were remastering Half-Life 1. Because Half-Life 2, let's be honest, it was on the Xbox 360. Xbox One is slowly becoming backwards compatible. Eventually, this game will grandfather, not this game's gone forever, but this game will be grandfathered into the Xbox One family, and we'll be able to play this on our new age system. Unfortunately, we're going to have to find a PlayStation 2 Slim if we ever want to play this again, because PlayStation 2 it works on. However, it's in the living room, it's on an old-ass TV, and there is no way you guys will enjoy watching this in there. So we need a Slim to connect to an HD TV to be able to see this in its proper lighting, because we tried placing the PlayStation 2 in here, and unfortunately, the wires weren't working, or the system was too old to work with a newer TV, so it came out like it was super dark. So we'll have to wait and see if we can get a better PlayStation 2 to play that game. Anyway, my thoughts on Half-Life 3 are this. Valve, as fans, we deserve an ending to all of our gaming stories. Now, yes, sometimes we don't get what we want. You know, there are a lot of games that were left in limbo. Some games that were rebooted that deserve to be left in limbo, DMC. Half-Life 3 is your biggest conspiracy. Now, this could work in your favor, Valve, or it could work against you, because fans are still talking about one of your best games. Now, I can understand it's been 10 years. A lot of people who are just getting into gaming aren't going to understand Half-Life 3. They're going to be like, what's this? Why? You might even have to resell Half-Life 2 to get people to understand at least where something's at. But it's available online. You can still play Half-Life on PC. We need an ending. Half-Life 3, in my opinion, whether it be next year, which will be 10 years since 2, or 20 years from episode 2 of Half-Life, Half-Life needs a definitive ending. We did not get that yet. Dead Space, for example. I'm almost positive they're working on a Dead Space 4. Because Dead Space 3 left a huge cliffhanger. So, if they're doing it, I understand, Valve, you got a lot on your plate. No one's saying that you don't. Steam is a perfect example of that. We need Half-Life 3. Unfortunately, now leaving, talking to Valve and talking with all of you again, it's a great conspiracy, and I think it's a conspiracy that will be around for many, many years. Do I ever think Valve is going to step forward officially, make an official trailer, make an official announcement saying, Half-Life 3, it's coming. The final chapter in Gordon Freeman's, or the next chapter, because you don't want to say final in case people really like Half-Life 3 and you might want to make a 4. So the next chapter in Gordon Freeman's life, coming soon. I don't know if we'll ever see that. I can hope for it. I can pray for it. Valve, it's really in Valve's hands what they want to do. They lost the writer, so they're going to need somebody who at least has notes, or try to get the writer to give like older scripts he wrote, possibly if there were older scripts. Unfortunately, I think that Half-Life 3 will just remain in the conspiracy circle for many, many, many more years. Remember, guys, we're in the PlayStation 4, Xbox One era at this point. This game came out on the Xbox 360, but this was really early on in the 360's career, as a matter of fact. So we're talking almost a decade filled with millions of other games, that have, captured a lot of fans, like Call of Duty, Assassin's Creed. These are games that come out once a year now, but you've got the Batman Arkham series that just finished completely. You've got The Division. You've got Homefront, which was a game that came out years after Orange Box. There are a lot of games out there that sprouted since the days of Half-Life 2. I don't think Valve's under any pressure to bring out a Half-Life 3 at this point. They're pretty lax, actually, on the subject, but my only hope as a gaming fan and as a fan of Half-Life and Gordon Freeman and all the tidbits that are dropped every now and again, all the little nods to Half-Life within Valve's games, and all the little teasers they'll drop every now and again, especially that big one. Oh, I'll never forget when I saw it in Portal 2, I thought that was it. I thought that was going to be the setup to bring in Half-Life 3. I really thought that right after Portal 2 there was going to be an announcement that year about Half-Life 3. Unfortunately, there wasn't. Hopefully one day we'll get Half-Life 3. What will it be about? Will this be the final chapter in Gordon Freeman's life? Will him and Alex be together? Will Alex die? Will Gordon die? Will the G-Man be the ultimate grand finale boss? Which I would believe that would make sense, that whoever he's going after would be I would think they're going after G-Man, if I remember episode 2 correctly. I'm almost positive. So that's like going to be the ultimate ending right there, is him going after G-Man and stopping him once and for all, and fixing the world, because the world was in shambles when the game ended. I would love to see it. Millions of other fans around the world would love to see it. I'm sure you guys, if you're watching, gals, if you're watching this video, you'd love to see it, because I've heard many people say they'd love to see a Half-Life 3. They'd love it. Before Valve, you lose all of the fans of the original game and the original series. You've already lost 10 years. I would say waiting another 10 years, then I would absolutely say make the announcement that it's never happening, because 20 years from now, all the people that remembered Half-Life, all the people that loved it, all the conspiracy, fan fiction, there are fan movies out there, guys. There's fan, made YouTube videos. You can type in Half-Life fan movie and you'd see a ton of them. Half-Life has a huge following right now, but if the game does not come out, it will fall into the category of what all games that aren't talked about in many years falls under. It will become a retro game, and that's all it will ever be, is a retro game from the early 2000s that everybody will basically forget about. So Valve, your chance is now. Don't waste it. But don't give us a crap game either. If you're gonna stick to your guns about not putting out Half-Life 3, stick to it. If you're gonna put out Half-Life 3, if you're gonna stick to the fact that one day, somehow, someway, you're gonna release a Half-Life 3, make it soon, because it's getting up in the years. And B, make it worth something. Don't make a half-assed game that people are gonna play and they're gonna be like, you should have just forgotten about Half-Life 3 to begin with. That's my opinion. I could be 100% wrong. I'm not claiming to be a gaming, master knowledge person. I'm just an average gamer who loves the games that he enjoys and only plays the games he enjoys. And Half-Life, the franchise, all three, even though this is called the Orange Box, the entire Half-Life franchise is a series that I enjoyed from early on when I was a teen in the PlayStation 2 era, all the way through to Xbox and Xbox 360. We're a system later now. Half-Life 3, conspiracy or truth? You decide as a viewer. Personally, if I don't see any official announcement either this year at E3 or definitely next year at E3, I'm filing it under conspiracy and most likely never happening. If they're waiting for the 10-year anniversary of, episode 2 of Half-Life 2, they'll announce it at E3 next year. Or maybe this year at E3 that it's coming out next year. I don't know. But if we don't hear anything about Half-Life from Valve, and not a rumor, an official statement from Valve saying we are doing Half-Life 3 within the next 2 years, to be honest, I don't think Valve is ever going to do a Half-Life 3. And it's disappointing because there's another chapter. You know it. I know it. Valve knows it. And now is the time to do it. Will they? I don't know. Do I hope? Shit, I have the new consoles. Of course I hope. I'll be the first one in line. If I have to sacrifice 3 games to make sure I get Half-Life 3, I will. Because that's how much of a fan I am of the series. And if it sucks, believe me, I'll be the first one to say it. And if it rocks, I'll be the first one to say that as well. But again, it's all up to Valve. It's up to Valve what they want to do. If they want to, stifle a franchise, it's their franchise to stifle. They've already lost the writer. So I would think in losing the writer already, that's kind of a step out the door instead of a step towards a number 3. So we'll have to wait and see. But I hope there's a Half-Life 3. And in the comments below, feel free to share your stories of Half-Life. Whether you started a Half-Life 1, you found Half-Life 2 in the orange box. Because a lot of people that bought the orange box, no joke, bought it for Team Fortress 2. That's why people bought the orange box. Was Team Fortress 2. Because Team Fortress 2 wasn't anywhere except on the orange box. Same thing with Portal. And same thing with Episode 2 of Half-Life 2. So everybody grabbed the orange box for one reason or another. So whether you found it here, or you played it when it was on Xbox, or hell, you were part of the era that was PlayStation 2 like myself, and you fell in love with the original game. Guys, I wish, and I'm praying that in the middle of 2016, Mike and I will be able to get a PS2 Slim. They're like $50. They're the price of a game, I believe, now. If we can get a PlayStation 2 Slim, and we can connect it to this TV, I promise you guys, this will be the first game you see. I will literally, if I can't stream it, I will record hours on top of hours. I will get this game done within a week. Maybe 2 weeks. Unless I decide to add the infinite ammo cheat. Maybe 2 weeks. But I will get this game done if we can get the PS2. And then I will reconnect the Xbox 360 if this is not on the Xbox One yet. And I will play Half-Life 2 and then go into Episode 1 and Episode 2 to show you guys how amazing this series is, was, and hopefully one day can be. But I don't know. I don't know. In the comments, your stories, your thoughts on if there will be a Half-Life 3. Is it a conspiracy or will it happen? Is it going to happen? I have no clue. At this point, nothing's guaranteed in life. So, hopefully, I will say that. But while you're down there, description has a bunch of links to a bunch of really awesome sites. When you get the chance, check those out. Stay tuned. I might do more talks on video game series as time moves forward. There's a lot of video games out there that I would love to share my thoughts with you guys on. So maybe if you guys enjoyed this, let me know in the comments as well, and maybe I'll do a video game series every once in a while as well to bring in some gaming discussion. But again, this isn't the gaming series I was talking about when I mentioned I was working on a gaming series. That series is yet to begin, but this is something else that I wanted to throw out there. So if you guys liked it, please let me know in the comments below so I'll know you guys want more. And if you guys want more, I'll give you guys more faster. Then if I see that nobody's saying they really, really like it, then I'll do it on my time, and it might take a little bit longer than if I see you guys really liked it. Till then, guys, take care. Well, guys and gals, so everybody, take care. Keep reading, keep collecting, and I will see you guys really soon in the next video.